My name is Antonio, but everyone calls me Tony. I'm a musician, and I've always had a deep connection to the Philippines' rich history and culture. One day, a mysterious invitation arrived at my doorstep, leading me to a musical adventure I could never have imagined. The invitation was to perform at the grand reopening of Luneta School in Manila, an institution that had been abandoned for decades due to a series of unexplained incidents. The school was a beautiful colonial-era building, its facade covered in ivy and its grand wooden doors creaking with age. Townsfolk had a saying, "Don't go near Luneta School after dark." It was known as the most haunted place in Manila. But I was never one to back down from a challenge, and the promise of playing my music in such a historic venue was too enticing to resist. As I walked into the school, I couldn't help but feel a shiver crawl down my spine. The echoes of laughter and footsteps seemed to linger in the air, even though the school had been empty for years. My performance was scheduled for the evening, so I took some time to explore the school. It was then that I heard it, a hauntingly beautiful melody playing on a piano somewhere deep within the building. The music was ethereal, almost as if it were trying to communicate with me. I followed the sound, my heart racing with every step. I arrived at the music room where a grand piano sat alone in the dimly lit space. The music seemed to be playing itself, the keys moving as if touched by invisible hands. As I approached the piano, the melody shifted, becoming more poignant and melancholic. "Who's there?" I called out. A figure materialized before me, a young woman dressed in a white gown. Her hair was long and dark, and her eyes held a deep sadness. "I am Sophia," she said, her voice like a gentle breeze. "I was a student here, a pianist and a composer. I died tragically, and my spirit has been trapped here ever since." Sophia explained that she had composed a piece of music, a song that had been left unfinished in life. She could never rest until her composition was complete. She urged me to help her finish it. With her guidance, I sat at the piano and began to play. The room filled with an otherworldly resonance, and together we completed Sophia's composition. The melody grew more beautiful and haunting, and as the final note rang out, Sophia's spirit began to glow with a soft light. She smiled at me, her eyes filled with gratitude, and then she vanished, her spirit finally at peace. The grand reopening of Luneta School was a resounding success. My performance, accompanied by Sophia's music, left the audience in awe, and it seemed that the entire town's perception of the school had shifted from one of fear to one of enchantment. As for me, I realized that music had the power not only to move the living, but also to touch the souls of the departed. Sophia's story became a part of my own, a reminder of the extraordinary encounters that can happen when music and the supernatural intersect in the most unexpected of places. My name is Luis, and I'm a history teacher in the small town of Siquijor, Philippines. It's a place known for its enchanting folklore and mystic traditions. Little did I know that I would become part of a story that would challenge my rational beliefs. One sunny morning, my school principal, Mrs. Santos, approached me with a concerned look in her eyes. She told me about a strange occurrence happening in our school, the San Isidro High School. Several students claimed to have seen ghostly apparitions and heard mysterious whispers in one particular classroom. Room 13. Some even refused to enter the room, fearing its haunted reputation. Skeptical at first, I decided to investigate. I entered room 13, and immediately a feeling of unease washed over me. The classroom was old, its walls adorned with faded student artwork and a chalkboard covered in years of dust. It was as if the room had been forgotten by time itself. As I began to wipe off the dust from the chalkboard, I heard a faint, sorrowful voice. "Louis," it whispered. Startled, I turned to see an ethereal figure, a young girl in a tattered school uniform. She was hovering near the chalkboard, her eyes filled with sadness. "Who are you?" I stammered. She introduced herself as Maria, a former student of San Isidro High School who had died in a tragic accident years ago. She explained that she, along with other spirits of students from the past, were trapped in room 13, unable to move on. Maria revealed that the source of their torment was a curse placed on the room by a vengeful teacher who had met an unfortunate end. The curse bound the spirits to the classroom, where they were doomed to eternally repeat their lessons and suffer the teacher's relentless scolding. Determined to help them, I asked Maria, "What can I do to break the curse?" She explained that there was an ancient chant hidden in a book in the school's library that had the power to lift the curse. With Maria's guidance, I found the book and the incantation. Written in a language I had never seen before, it was a chant meant to free the tormented spirits. Returning to room 13, I stood before the chalkboard, my voice trembling as I recited the chant. A radiant light enveloped the room, and one by one, the spirits, including Maria, began to ascend, their faces transforming from sorrow to gratitude. The classroom was filled with an otherworldly serenity, and the echoes of the teacher's cruel scolding slowly faded away. As the last spirit vanished into the light, I felt a deep sense of relief. The curse had been broken, and the classroom was finally at peace. It was a moment that defied explanation and rationality, a testament to the supernatural mysteries that linger in the corners of the world. The students who had once feared room 13 would never forget the day their haunted classroom became a place of tranquility. As for me, I continued to teach, now with a newfound respect for the unseen forces that can shape our world and the inexplicable stories that may lurk just beneath the surface. I never thought I'd find myself in this situation. My name is Miguel, and I'm a journalist always on the lookout for a unique story. This time I found myself in a remote village in the Philippines, investigating a series of chilling events that had gripped the community in fear. It all began when I heard rumors about an old abandoned school hidden deep within the dense forests of Mindoro Island. The locals whispered tales of ghostly apparitions, eerie voices, and strange disappearances. They called it Mansalay Elementary, a place where the past seemed to haunt the present. As the sun dipped below the horizon, I ventured into the forest, guided only by a crude map sketched by a local elder. The path was overgrown with vegetation, and the air grew colder as I progressed further into the heart of the forest. The whispers of the trees and the rustling leaves seemed to mock my intrusion. Finally, I arrived at the forsaken school. The building stood tall, its windows shattered and walls covered in ivy. It was as if time had forgotten this place. I stepped inside, my flashlight revealing shattered desks, broken blackboards, and remnants of children's artwork. As I explored further, I heard faint whispers that sent shivers down my spine. The voices seemed to come from all directions, but were impossible to pinpoint. They spoke in a language I couldn't understand, filled with sorrow and despair. The darkness around me felt heavy, as though it had a life of its own. Suddenly, the air grew icy cold, and I felt a presence behind me. I turned my flashlight to find the apparition of a young girl, her eyes hollow and her clothing tattered. She gazed at me with a mixture of sadness and longing. My heart raced, and I struggled to maintain my composure. In a trembling voice, I asked, "Who are you?" The girl's voice was like the wind rustling through the leaves. "I am Maria," she said. "I died here long ago, trapped in this place along with the other children. We yearned for the light, but we are bound here by a malevolent force." As Maria spoke, more apparitions began to materialize around me. Children in tattered uniforms, their faces etched with despair. They recounted their stories of a cruel schoolteacher who subjected them to unspeakable horrors before meeting his own gruesome end. I knew I needed to find a way to help them. I asked Maria, "How can I free you and the others?" Maria's eyes met mine. "There is a shrine deep in the forest. You must retrieve a sacred amulet that holds the power to banish the malevolent force." With newfound determination, I followed Maria's guidance, making my way through the forest to the shrine. After what seemed like an eternity, I found the amulet hidden within an old stone chest. As I held it in my hands, I could sense its energy, a warmth that stood in stark contrast to the cold darkness of the school. Returning to the abandoned school, I stood before the restless spirits and held the amulet aloft. A brilliant light burst forth, dispelling the malevolent force that had bound them for so long. Children's spirits began to ascend, their faces finally filled with peace. The forest seemed to sigh in relief as the spirits vanished into the light, leaving behind an eerie silence. As I stood there, I knew I had uncovered a story that would stay with me forever. The village of Mansalay would never forget the day they had their peace restored, and I would never forget the haunted school that had held me in its chilling grip. The whispers in the dark had finally found their rest, but their story would live on in my heart, a testament to the unexplainable mysteries that lurk in the corners of the world.